Hey, it's Ben. Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be about fundraising from outside the United States. Recently, I had a conversation with a friend, and he was coaching some people that were missionaries or pastors located outside the United States. And they were coming to him with a lot of their what they saw as problems, most of which had to do with money. In fact, one of them had a little chart showing what the solution in his mind to all the problems was, and the solution to each of them was money. I've also seen many people who are Christians located outside the United States trying to raise money to come to the United States. Maybe they need money for a visa. Maybe they have somebody to sponsor them. But what they all seem to need is money. Remember when I first started fundraising, I thought a lot the same thing. Like, if only I had enough money, all these problems would be solved. A pastor friend of mine named Nick Stanton pulled me aside when he heard me talking this way. And he looked me right in the eye and he said, if you think money's the problem, then money's not the problem. And that stuck with me. The problem wasn't money. God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. The Bible also says the gold is mine, the silver also is mine. And having been on support for 7+ years, I've come to realize that there's no lack of money out there. There are so many good Christian people who are wealthier than you could possibly imagine, who are so generous with their money. So where is the problem? From what I've found, the problem a lot of times is a lack of vision. It says in Proverbs that where there is no vision, the people perish. And what that means for you, if we're talking about fundraising, your idea will perish. What you feel like God is calling you will perish if you can't articulate the vision, if you don't have the vision within you, if you can't explain that vision to people. So it's very clear that money comes from the Lord. I always tell people when I'm coaching them in fundraising that it starts with prayer, prayer is in the middle, and prayer is at the end. You have to go to God with all these things because he has the solution for the problem. That's one thing that we do know. And a lot of times, simply, it can be also a lack of faith. Throughout the Gospels, we hear it echoed over and over again. Ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened unto you. And that's just not a one-time thing. You have to keep knocking, keep asking, keep seeking. But that's a principle of life. So to me, there are a few prerequisites to fundraising. One, like I mentioned, do you have a clear vision as to what God has called you to do? Can you articulate that vision? Can you explain it to somebody else in a way that they really understand what God is calling you to do? Also, are you involved in a local church? Do you have a group of people around you, godly people that can mentor you physically, emotionally, spiritually, in all these areas? The Bible says, in an abundance of counselors, there is victory. Do you have an abundance of counselors? So if you have those three things in order, I think it's time to start thinking about what your fundraising process will look like. One of the first things you're going to want to do is get some resources. There's a good book called The God Ask. I would say go buy it, read through it, and see what applies to you. There's also somebody named Scott Morton, and he has a lot of resources available online for free. I'll put a link in the description box below if you're watching on YouTube. Now, the next thing I'm going to say might seem a little counterintuitive, but you need to get involved with as many churches as you can, but not for money. The question is, how can your vision and their vision overlap? How can you help them with their vision and their purpose? And how can they help you with yours? Money aside, you need to grow those relationships and grow relationships like that with people too. I remember one story for us where our dog actually found us a financial supporter. As funny as it seems, we were out of the country and we kenneled our dogs with a friend of a friend. Now, I was in Honduras and my phone rang, and the person on the other line said, I have your dog. See, we'd given them the collars that had their phone numbers on them. The lady said, when can you come get her? And I said, well, I can't right now. I'm out of the country. I'm in Honduras. And her immediate question to me was, are you a missionary? And I was like, yeah, that's so funny that you would ask. And so we got into a little conversation. And we put her in touch with a person who was kenneling the dog, and she took the dog back. But many times that dog escaped and went back to her house in those couple weeks that we were out of the country. And through our conversations with this lady, she said, when you come back to pick up your dog, come by. We'd like to meet you. So when my wife and I went to get our dog, we drove to the lady's house and we had a nice night with her and her husband. A few weeks later, we got an email from her that said, my husband and I talked and we'd like to support you guys financially. So if a dog can find financial support, you don't have anything to worry about. If you have all these things in line, God's got you. Another thing I'd advise is receive as many teams as you can, because when a church sends a team, every single person involved in that team is going to become interested in your ministry. Now, sure, they won't all be financial support, but they'll talk to their friends and they might bring teams themselves. It's a way to get your ministry known around the world. So I want to close it out with the idea of accountability. You can read these books, you can make the perfect plan, but you got to make sure that you have somebody keeping you accountable, that you actually do what you say you're going to do, that you're going to implement all these plans, that you're going to follow through with your commitments. If you have any questions about fundraising, please drop them in the comments below. I read all the comments on my videos. I'd love to answer any questions that you might have. Thanks and have a great day.